Well, so Mahindra's XUV300 really is the toast of the compact SUV segment right now. But how good is it and how does it fare against the latest product offering from Hyundai? Yes, we'll compare this car with the Venue today and figure out which one makes more sense for you. Should you stick your money with the Venue or should you go to Mahindra dealership and buy the 300 instead? We'll figure it out, so stay tuned with us for the next 9 or 10 minutes and we'll give you a definitive verdict. But before that, here's a small request. Please do follow me on Instagram. My handle is Ashish Masih1. You can also follow the team at Autoportal_India. And of course, if you help us improve our followers, then manufacturers will think that we've become more influential and they'll send all these cars to us much sooner. Thanks for watching. Well, so the first thing that you'll notice inside the XUV300's cabin is the ambience. This car definitely has a much posher and upmarket ambience thanks to this beige fabric and the use of lighter materials over here. Now, in terms of quality, it really is neck and neck, but the quality inside the 300 is a bit patchy on the lower end of the dashboard. So the Venue has the advantage in overall quality. In terms of features, it's again neck and neck. This car gets some unique features like dual zone climate control as well as steering settings over here, which can be changed for comfort or for sport mode. And of course, you also get features like tire pressure monitor as well as which direction your steering wheel is in. Overall, it really is between choosing slightly better quality on that car, again marginal, or choosing features and better cabin ambience. Well, so in terms of overall features, it really is neck and neck between both these cars. In terms of the quality, the Venue has a slight advantage over the XUV300 because everything feels very, very nice and has a nice and tactile feel about itself. In fact, if you sit in this car, it doesn't feel like you're sitting inside a compact SUV. It feels like you're sitting inside a much more expensive car. The quality really is that good. Now, in terms of the features, this car, remember, comes with that Blue Link app with which you can, of course, start and stop your car by using your mobile phone. If you download that app, you can also start the AC on the car and you can lock and unlock, and you can use a host of other features. It also has an SOS function where in case, God forbid, you get in an accident or in any awkward position with the car, then the system will send out a signal for emergency services and those services will approach you and help you out. And also you can immobilize this car by using that app. So these are features, and this is the app which the Mahindra doesn't offer, but the XUV's cabin feels a little more posher and a little more upmarket, and also has a couple of features which this car doesn't offer. So it really is between choosing what you want, and both these cars are neck and neck, as I just said. In terms of features, just that the features are as different as apples and oranges. Now, in terms of overall seat comfort, both cars are again neck and neck. Both offer you excellent support for your lower backs, excellent support overall, and practicality also is really very, very difficult to judge. So as I just said, it really depends on what you want. In terms of quality, it's ahead, this one, the Venue. But in terms of that ambience, that airy and upmarket ambience, it is the XUV which has the advantage. Well, so let's talk about the comparison with the Venue. In terms of overall knee room, this car is definitely ahead of the Hyundai Venue, and headroom is pretty similar, but yes, knee room is better. What's also better on the XUV300 is the overall seat comfort, because the seat positioning, the backrest angle, as well as the overall support for your lower back and the under thighs is definitely ahead of the Venue. Also, the floorboard over here is almost completely flat, and that means that if you have 3 occupants to sit, this car will be much better for them for those long highway trips. Where the XUV300 is also ahead of the Venue is overall cabin ambience. This car definitely feels a whole lot more posher, upmarket, as well as luxurious because of this beige fabric. This car definitely has the edge in terms of the ambience inside the cabin, and I would definitely give it a better score for cabin ambience as well as for better seats in terms of overall comfort. So this one gets a 19 out of 20 in the backseat department, while the Venue gets an 18. Well, so in terms of the back seat comparison, as you can see, headroom is pretty much at par with the XUV300, but the knee room isn't as generous. It is a wide car, but knee room, again, as I said, isn't as generous as the XUV. So overall, I'll give the back seat victory to the XUV300. Well, in terms of the boot department, it is the Venue which has the advantage. Now, this car, remember, is a sub 4 meter car, and the boot has been chopped off because this was originally the SsangYong Tivoli, and Mahindra had to make it shorter to make it fit the sub 4 meter clauses in India. So they've cut down the boot, and it's quite small and not as big as the Venue. But in isolation, it's quite okay to load up 3 big bags or 2 big bags at least, and of course you can drop the back seat down as well. So in the boot department, it is the Venue which has the advantage. Well, if you talk about comparisons with the XUV300, then this car clearly wins it because it has a much bigger boot than that car. It's got a nice shape. There's a bit of a sill, but it is quite okay. So if you have your mother-in-law who comes and visits you every couple of months, then this is the car that you'll prefer to buy rather than the XUV, because that car's boot is really tiny. In fact, you might say that you'll go for that car and tell your mother-in-law to come in a taxi because the boot of your car is so small. So it works either ways. Well, so in terms of the overall driving department, both these cars are pretty similar. The XUV300 also has a very nice and light steering wheel, but the big difference is that you can choose from various modes and settings on the XUV300. You can of course make it heavier if you decide to use the button here and put it into sport mode, and suddenly you'll realize that the weight of the steering wheel increases and it becomes a little more feelsome than it is. Now, no matter which engine option you choose, you can choose either the diesel or the petrol. Both the engines are pretty good in terms of power delivery as well as refinement. Yes, Mahindra's diesel engines are pretty good in the refinement department. In fact, they're as good as a Hyundai, which so far has been the leader in overall refinement. And the clutch and the gearbox also is nice and snickety to use. Now, the gearbox on the Mahindra, both diesel or petrol, isn't as slick as the one on the Hyundai, but it's just slightly behind. It's not a big difference, but it's just a slight difference, but it's not something that you can term as a deal breaker either. Now, in terms of ride comfort, the Mahindra XUV300 is quite okay. At slow city speeds, it managed to soak in the bumps quite well, but at higher speeds, it does tend to become a little nervous because the suspension does become a little bumpy. Now, neither of these two cars can be truly termed as a proper keen driver's car, but of course, if you call yourself a really keen driver and you want to buy a car for sheer driving thrills, if you push the XUV300 into corners, there's a little bit of body roll and there is a little bit of roll, and even though it's always under control, it is of course the Venue which has a slight advantage in the overall driving dynamics department. So it's really neck and neck, but of course, because we are comparing today, then the Venue has a slight advantage in the driving department. Now, what you'll also like about the Mahindra is the fact that the engine responsiveness is really good. The diesel engine especially starts responding from about 1500, 1600 RPM, which makes it a better car for people who drive in the city. It just becomes a very nice and easy engine to drive. It's got a nice and easy nature to it, so that makes it a good car. And definitely, when you compare it with the Venue, which has a little bit of lag below 2000 RPM, you will prefer this one for sheer driving around in the city. Well, the truth be told, if you are a keen driver, then you should simply forget everything else in this comparison and go for the Venue, because this car offers you a more engaging drive. The steering wheel on this car is a lot more crisper than the one on the XUV300. The grip level from the tires feels better, and the body roll also is much more under control than it is on the XUV300. But that's not all. You also get the option of an automatic gearbox, which you don't get on the XUV300 just as yet. And of course, it is a 7-speed dual clutch automatic with a 1-litre petrol engine, and it is a pretty good engine as well. It's a 120 bhp petrol engine. It's more powerful than any other engine in this segment in terms of the petrol power, so that also gives the Venue the big advantage. But the ride comfort and the ride quality of the Venue is also ahead of the Mahindra, and refinement levels from all the engines are also better than the Mahindra. So overall, the diesel engine on the Mahindra might be slightly more powerful and a little more punchy in terms of power delivery than the one on the Venue. But overall, if you consider the manual gearboxes, which are better on this car, the ride quality as well as the crisp steering wheel, it is the Venue which has the advantage over the Mahindra 300. And I would give this car a strong 90, and the Mahindra would get about 88 or 89 depending on which engine you choose. But really, it is the Venue which will simply put a smile on your face, and that's something that the XUV will not do when you consider pure driving thrills. With much to like and so little between them, you can't really go wrong with either the Mahindra XUV300 or the Hyundai Venue. Both are fine examples of what a modern day compact SUV is all about. But the Venue, with its more powerful petrol engine as well as the dual clutch automatic, feels like the better car to drive, and it also has the better interiors in terms of the quality. You also get the connected apps, which make it look like a rounded product. The only thing missing though is space in the back seat. So if you are someone who likes to sit in the back seat all day long, then the Mahindra XUV300 is the better car. But apart from that, the Hyundai Venue is overall the better all-rounder. It's bye for now, and thanks for watching.